This morning, I would want to discuss Cohen's strategy for a potential hostile takeover of the company. In addition, I would want to provide an update on a court issue that is of great significance to short sellers and has the potential to establish a significant precedent for Wall Street and activist short sellers in the future. GameStop's rumored acquisition bid of $56 billion was officially rejected by eBay's board of directors. According to recent sources, the board of directors stated that the offer was not regarded credible or compelling. Following the dissemination of such information, a great number of investors quickly began asking the same question. Where do we go from here? Is this just the beginning of a much greater conflict, or does Cohen simply walk away from the agreement after it has been announced? During a recent interview, Cohen provided a detailed explanation of the reasons why the eBay board of directors did not accept the bid and why management did not have any interest in finalizing the transaction. According to Cohen, the board was absolutely right when they stated that the concept was not appealing to the business community. However, he explained that the current board members and executives did not find it appealing because, according to his proposal, it was highly likely that they would find themselves completely removed from their positions. Cohen brought up the fact that the corporate board apparently made millions of dollars in fees over the course of the previous year, while the chief executive officer has been making close to $30 million yearly. At the same time, he brought attention to the fact that the chief executive officer has apparently not bought any shares on the open market during his tenure as CEO of the company. Therefore, according to Cohen, this provides investors with a very critical piece of information on the degree to which management is truly aligned with shareholders. He went on to explain that from the management's point of view, it was not surprising that they turned down the agreement because they were concerned about safeguarding their own salaries and places within the organization. Cohen, however, is of the opinion that the proposition might potentially be rather appealing when seen from the point of view of shareholders. Cohen made it abundantly obvious that he is still interested in maintaining control of the company when he was directly questioned about whether the rejection signified that the transaction was now complete. In his statement, he noted that he already owns a large amount of influence that is connected to the company due to his derivative exposure and existing ownership positions. He also stated that he still wants to pursue the situation vigorously moving forward. Now, this is significant because if we return to Cohen's initial purchase thesis, one of his primary aims was to slash expenditures and wasteful corporate spending. This is why this is crucial. Prior to this, he had already explored the possibility of lowering exorbitant board expenses, CEO remuneration, and other administrative costs throughout the company. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that the existing leadership team is aware of the fact that if Cohen were to acquire control, a significant number of those executives and board members might be dismissed immediately. Investors are of the opinion that the board's decision to reject the proposal was motivated more by self-preservation than by the desire to maximize shareholder value. However, this is the point at which the story starts to seem a lot more intriguing. There is a strong indication that Cohen is of the opinion that he does not necessarily require backing from the board itself. As an alternative, he might finally make an effort to present the proposition to the shareholders, who are the people who actually own the company when it comes to ownership. On top of that, everything is different, mainly due to the fact that a big number of shareholders bought eBay stock at levels that were significantly higher than where it is currently trading. In the event that investors are suddenly presented with a significant premium that is significantly higher than the existing market value, numerous institutions and hedge funds may seriously contemplate supporting the purchase independently of what management want. Profits are more important to hedge funds and institutional investors than anything else at the end of the day. If an acquisition plan provides them with a big return on investment in a short amount of time, there's a very real risk that support for the deal might build at a rapid pace. Because of this, a lot of investors think that this takeover tale is not even close to being finished. A plan that appeared to be rejected at first glance may, in the coming months, turn out to be a far larger shareholder dispute than it initially appeared to be. Now that we have that out of the way, let's also discuss the important court case concerning short sellers, which involves Andrew Leff from Citron Research. This case has the potential to have significant repercussions for the future of activist short sellers. A significant number of investors are keeping a close eye on this trial because they feel it has the potential to dramatically transform the way in which regulators deal with allegations of market manipulation involving hedge funds and short sellers. Only a small percentage of big hedge fund CEOs or institutional players have ever been sentenced to significant prison time for financial malfeasance throughout the course of history. In the majority of instances, businesses are only subject to fines that are negligible in comparison to the total amount of money involved. Prison sentences for powerful Wall Street elites have been relatively uncommon throughout history, even after big financial crimes, such as those that have occurred throughout history. Since this is the case, it is of utmost significance. Andrew Left is accused by federal authorities of exercising his public power and providing opinion on the market in order to manipulate stock prices for the purpose of gaining financial gain, according to claims made by the Department of Justice. He is facing various counts relating to securities fraud in addition to allegations related to misleading investigators. Left is accused of using his market influence to affect stock prices, while simultaneously hiding critical data regarding trading activities, compensation arrangements, and links tied to hedge funds, according to the authorities. The charges that some activities and compensation structures were purposefully concealed through the use of deceptive documents and indirect payment arrangements are among the most significant allegations. In addition, the prosecution asserts that certain public reports that were distributed by Citron Research caused investors to experience a state of panic, while at the same time, they allegedly failed to reveal significant conflicts or coordination that were associated with trading activity that was taking place behind the scenes. During the course of the trial, executives closely associated with Kronos Group were already called as a significant witness. According to the testimony that has surrounded the case, Citron Research has issued a report in which it accuses the corporation of misleading investors by giving an unusually low price target in comparison to the price at which shares were trading at the time. According to reports, the stock price experienced a significant decrease after the story was published, and investors rapidly became engulfed in a state of panic. The leaders of the company indicated that they were inundated with concerns from shareholders, regulators, and employees who were concerned that there may have been fraud occurring within the company. However, the company maintained that those assertions were either extremely deceptive or wholly falsified, as evidenced by the testimony that was submitted during the hearings. This particular instance is extremely significant for just this reason. In an effort to demonstrate that specific market participants purposefully employed fear, influence, and public criticism to manipulate stock prices and profit from falls in selected companies, the prosecution is attempting to prove that these techniques were used. In the event that the jury subscribes to that line of reasoning, this case has the potential to establish a significant precedent for the whole short-selling business. Numerous retail investors are of the opinion that this verdict provides confirmation of the fears they have harbored for years concerning concerted pressure operations directed against heavily shorted companies. Another school of thought contends that activist short sellers continue to play a significant part in bringing to light legitimate instances of fraud within the market. Regardless of the outcome of this case, it is possible that it will have significant repercussions for Wall Street in the future. The question of whether or not this trial may eventually lead to broader investigations regarding links between activist research firms, hedge funds, and coordinated trading activity is currently one of the most important concerns that investors are asking. Investors are currently waiting to see how the jury reacts to the evidence that is being presented. And for the time being, all eyes are focused on the courtroom. One thing, however, is becoming abundantly evident. The world of finance is approaching a phase in which some of Wall Street's most powerful power structures are beginning to face major challenges from many directions at the same time. This is due to the aggressive takeover ambitions of Ryan Cohen, as well as the mounting legal pressure surrounding activist short sellers. In the same way that I always do, I will continue to keep you posted as new developments occur. Both of these stories are still developing, and the next several weeks might prove highly significant